All right, welcome back. Episode 31. Guys, we finally got a top 5 player. Took the pod close to a year to make this happen. Not that I only care about ranking clout, but on a serious note, incredibly stoked to finally have her on. A lot of DM exchanges to make this happen. Really don't even need an elaborate introduction for her. She's the world number 4, and she's probably going to go down as the greatest American squash player. Welcome, Amanda Sobhy. What is up? How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to clarify that the DM slide-ins are on your end mainly. But
It is.
But, you know, I appreciate your persistence. So I told you it was going to happen at some point.
Well, yeah, no, I'm super glad that persistence worked. To start this off, I wanted to do, what stage are you in the off season right now? It is still the off season for you, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's amazing. I haven't had a proper off season since 2018. Because 2019 we had the Pan American Games, 2020 was COVID, 2021 was all the tournaments from COVID that was pushed into the summer. So this is the first time where I actually get a summer to enjoy my life a little bit. And 2, be able to put in a good 7-week training block in, which I haven't done in years. So that's really nice. But I am almost halfway through my summer training block. I'm in week 4 of 5 weeks that I'm spending down here in Florida, training with Wael Hindi at his club, Kinetic. And then I'll have another 2 more weeks back in Philly for the end of August, which I'm super excited about.
Does your off season, I guess you just mentioned that this is so it's been a while since you've got a proper off season. Is it meticulously all scheduled in from week 1, week 2 to week 7? How does this work for a professional player?
For me, it's different for everyone. I'm very kind of OC. I like structure. I like to plan things. I like having time to be able to just measure progress and not feel rushed or I'm cramming in things and really have time to build on things and see things improve over time. So that's why I wanted to give myself a good 7 weeks. And I feel you can make a lot of changes during that time, whether it's with your game, your movement, physically, anything like that. So for me, what was crucial was, having that period before the actual work was beginning. It was more enjoying myself, my downtime, making sure that I took the rest after the season to really enjoy life, be happy, not have to do anything in terms of structure or do a training schedule. It's more wake up, work out for my health and well-being, eat to feel good, do all that. If I wanted to go work out, yes, but I didn't have to do anything, which is kind of nice. It gave me a peace of mind. And then feeling refreshed and have a start date, which is when I came down to Florida. It was okay, now we mean business. And what I love about being down here in Florida is I have my times of fitness, squash in the afternoon, and I don't have to plan my schedule. I have to show up and hold myself accountable, of course, and put the effort in. But my coaches Wael and my fitness coach Zach, they're the ones who are planning my schedule in terms of what I'm doing in fitness every day, what I'm doing with squash, all of that. So it actually takes a massive weight off of my shoulders in terms of needing to plan my schedule, organize my life, everything. And I can just let go of control, which is kind of nice because I'm a bit of a control freak, and put my trust in them. And I just really have to take care of, my nutrition, my sleep, my recovery, and making sure that I'm showing up and holding myself accountable day in and day out.
So would you say Florida is your main hub at this point of your career?
Yeah, it just started to kind of all come together this year. It's been a weird 2 years with COVID, moving down to Philly. I was in Boston before for 9 years total, 4 in school, and then 5 years after training with Jerry Linkou up there. And I moved down to Philly pretty much like 2 years ago. So still like in the pandemic, August of 2020. I moved down there for the Specter Center, which got really delayed due to COVID. But I still decided to move down. And I was like, oh, and then it took a lot of time to figure out my situation in Philly. Like, who am I going to work with? Like, what's the setup going to be like at the center when all of a sudden I've just come from like doing my own thing up in Boston. No one really knowing like what I'm doing, having a lot of privacy to myself, to all of a sudden now like training at the center with like all the other US players, and it's amazing. I mean, to have those players, like that's why I moved down there. But then I was like, whoa, I still need my own privacy, my own setup. And I had to figure that out. So it wasn't until this January when the Tournament of Champions got pushed until May due to Omicron that I was so fed up with Northeast winter. And I've known Weil for years. He's known me since I was maybe like 12. And so I texted him and I was like, hey, can I come down? I was like, I need to get out of winter. Like, I need to change the scenery. TOC's been postponed. He was like, yeah, sure, come on down. So I came down for 10 days just to like trial it out, see how it is. Absolutely loved it. Like, had an amazing time. Like, the training was incredible. Loved working with him. Like, I love the setup. The club's amazing. The weather's fantastic in winter, like all year round, all of that. I ended up staying with, got put in touch with a family who I didn't know, whose 2 kids like train at the club as well. And they're 17 and 18. And so I stay with them, which I'm at now at their condo in Del Rey. And it just like lucked out that me and the girl, Rhea, she's like my little mini me. We get along so well. We're like sisters at this point. We have a blast together. Like, I'm so lucky. I love the environment. And so, yeah, after the like 10 days, it was kind of like, oh, this works. Like, we have like a really good system. We get along well. The training vibe is amazing. And so then it was kind of in between events, while I was like, oh, like, what's your plan? And I was like, well, you tell me. Like, I can just fly down. And he's like, okay, I want you to come down this week. So then it was like, okay, I'd come down in between events. And then in April, I had a little bit more of a gap. So I came down for a couple weeks, and we've just kind of been very in sync with training and what we want to work on, and like the things that I want to achieve in these like last few years of my career, and we just get along so well, and I'm learning a ton, which is amazing. Like, it makes me excited because, you know, I've been doing this for a while, and it's nice to shake things up and do things differently and like get a whole new perspective on things of learning. So yeah, it's just been a huge kind of refresher for me, and I've been loving my time down here. So I basically, and it's like very, very private, which I value a lot. So it is kind of my like safe haven hub that no one really knows what I'm doing down here.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's.
And we have, it's nice. You know, I do put a lot of my life out there, so I value my privacy. And to be able to have that down here in Florida and have such an amazing community, it's just like all around like makes me really happy. So I split my time pretty much now between Philly and Florida.
Is there a part of you that would like to fully move to Florida?
So a lot of people have been asking me that. They're like, oh, are you thinking about moving?
This was my main question for the podcast. I was just so curious about this Philly-Florida dynamic.
Yeah. So Florida is an amazing like training place for me. I love being able to come in and go out, come in, train. And I think that's why I love training here so much, is knowing that I will leave and then I get to come back. So it keeps the excitement. Whereas I think because the training is so hard, like it is so hard. Oh my goodness. If I had to do this just weeks and weeks on end, it would lose that enjoyment aspect. It would lose the excitement. And I would definitely feel that burnout. And like it is heavily a training kind of base for me. So, you know, I haven't really done much. Everyone's like, oh, you're in Florida. I was like, I have no distractions. I eat, sleep, train. I don't like leave my radius. I like haven't done anything. You know, I go to like one restaurant to order takeout like once a week. And that's my like social activity besides going to the beach. So whereas like with Philly, I have much more of a life. Like family's there. I've got like a great group of friends that I've established like in my apartment and like the neighborhood that I live in. It's so there's a lot more like life balance, whereas here is just very squash centric and squash oriented. So it's like very heavy on the training side, whereas Philly, I have a little bit more life to it. So I like it a lot.
I mean, to be quite frank, though, Amanda, this would be an L for U.S. squash, though, because you're not in the Specter Center and that they had it's very obvious and apparent that they're really pushing for an American hub. But what I found really funny is that the top-ranked U.S. players on the women's side, you guys are way more successful, are kind of more operating individually. So that's why I was very curious about this dynamic. If you could speak to it a little bit.
Yeah. It is. So that was like another thing of figuring it out too. And it was a little uncomfortable because, you know, U.S. Squash has built this multi-million-dollar, like beautiful national center. And we did all buy into it. And we pretty much have all moved down to Philadelphia. But then for me, in my eyes, the national center is not like, especially for me at my point in my career, that's not my individual training hub. Like that's more to go for squad sessions, practice matches, like, you know, in and out. I still believe that for those of us that are already established on tour, we should have our own individual team and coaches and everything, and then utilize the Specter Center for additional, like, you know, squad sessions, drills, conditions, playing games, everything. I think the Specter Center is amazing for those that are just starting out. So the Spencer, the Timmy, like, you know, people who are wanting to give pro life a shot, and they need somewhere to base themselves to like get that good structure training the first like few years of their career, like maybe the first 4 years or something, have that like really good structure and hub to train at. And the Specter Center is perfect for that, you know? And now we have like Bridget, who's there full time. And like, so those guys are working with her, and that's a great environment. But as you get older, like we all have individual needs. And so we're going to be needing individual like coaches, you know, different fitness coaches that will help us in what we're trying to achieve. So I think it has taken a while to kind of understand that. I think from U.S. Squash's side, our like former director of national teams, I think he didn't quite understand that. So it was very forceful of like, when the Specter Center did open and Banky arrived, it was like, here's what your schedule is going to look like. Drop everything that you're doing. Like, here, just trust us. And I'm like, oh my God, like what? Like, are you kidding me? I was like, you can't just expect us to stop what's been working. I mean, a few of us are at the highest of our careers. Like we're doing so well, everything. And now we're just being forced to have to go all in at the center. And like, you know, that was like really stressful. And then the center all of a sudden becomes like a negative place because you're like, I feel like I'm being forced to be here. Like I'm not enjoying it. And then I feel like if I'm not there, I'm going to get kind of, yelled at or argued with, and it's not going to look good. And then so then it creates a weird dynamic of like the people that like are all into the center, and they're like, well, why is Amanda not here? And then it's like me, it's like, well, I'm doing my own thing, and like I'll bop in and out, everything. So it has honestly like taken time, and it's the first year of the program, so they're figuring out the whole like structure and operation side and how to navigate this space with like players from all different like levels and stages in their career, and girls, guys, and how to coach them differently and everything. And so I kind of just told them, which now like Kim Clarkin, who's our new like director of national teams, like, and she's unbelievable, love her, and she understands it. And I told her, I was like, hey, like my success is your success. I don't really need the being forced of like telling me what to do. Like, I'll tell you what I need, everything. I've been doing this for years. I know what I need in terms of training.
Yeah.
So I'll like when I'm in Philly, and I think it's great that the fact that now like I have Florida too. So like I'm in and out of Philly, and when I'm in Philly, like I'm present at the Specter Center now, like, and I found a nice way to like incorporate Bridget, the fitness coach there, and like working the squad sessions and like and training with Ben He. So the dynamic's a lot more enjoyable, at least like personally, but it has taken time, and yeah, there's a lot of like moving parts over the last year, I would have to say, to kind of figure it out and figure out like what's going to be the happy situation here where both parties are going to be happy with it. And we're all going to be able to like thrive at the end. Because at the end of the day, like my success is U.S. squash's success.
Right.
And like everybody knows, like I'm in Philly, they know I train at the Specter Center, whether I'm there like once a year or like, every single day, I still train at the Specter Center. And that's my hub in Philly, like train there. And then I also like, I train in Florida, which people understand, like I need my own individual setup too.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's an individual sport. So
yeah,
you got to do what you got to do. And it is fucking wild though for them. I mean, you're a perennial top 10 player, and then to all of a sudden be like, yeah, you got to come over here. We got something for you. It's like, I think what I'm doing is kind of working over here, but no, that is, I had no idea about that. Thank you for giving some insight.
It was, it was tough. I think because of like my status in the like rankings and everything, I had the most clout, so I could be able to say like, hey, listen guys, like, I've worked my way up into the top 5. Let me do what I need to do. Whereas the other players that are kind of hovering in the teens and the 20s, they got a little bit more, they got bullied a little bit more of trying to, have to be at the center all the time. And this is just like, it was a little bit poor management side, not understanding kind of squash at an individual high professional level, and almost thinking of it as a team sport, which at the end of the day, we are not a team sport. We are all individuals. You cannot have us all training the same program with the same fitness coach. You cannot have us all doing the exact same squash schedule week in and week out. You cannot have us training all the time with each other. Like, there's a reason why we get along. It's because we're good friends, but we have our separation. Like, if all of a sudden now we're training day in and day out together all the time, like, we still are competitors and we are close in the rankings. Like, we are fighting to be those top spots in the US. So we have a good dynamic of being friends but competitive, and if you kind of push us all together and like being on top of each other, we're going to lose that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this, I actually always found it very interesting with you, how you were you seem to always manage to maintain friendships and also be competitors at the same time. Especially, I'm talking about your dynamic with Olivia Ficker. How do you How are you able to do that? Because I know some players on tour, it's very cutthroat. It's either I'm not friends with you at all and just don't talk to me, or like just overtly friendly. And it seems like you've got a good mix now. Would you say that's just your nature of your personality?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I try and separate off court and on court. Obviously, like on court, I'm very, very competitive. I want to win, but like, you know, I'm not disrespectful. I don't cheat. I hold myself to like a high standard. I try and like be a role model for people because I know that, you know, there's a lot of people watching. And so I try and hold myself accountable to a very high standard. And it is funny because a lot of people also are like, I don't understand your friendship with Olivia Victor. Like, how are you guys such good friends but so competitive? And we laugh about it because we just hit the like sweet spot in friendship where we can train together and be so competitive. I mean, like, we'll play conditioned games with targets and everything, and we're going to bet like money, we'll bet drinks, we'll bet food, like we'll bet coffee, like you name it. And we are just like cursing each other out. We are pissed. Like, we are so angry. And then afterwards we're like, okay, so what are we doing for lunch? And then like, we'll go share on tour together, like, in hotel rooms and everything. And, you know, we're always gunning for each other. But I think that's like our friendship, like relationship, like we're able to show people that, hey guys, you can be really competitive with people and like want to slaughter them, like on court, like want to beat them so badly, but be able to be friends off court. Like
my kind of friendship with Olivia Victor is that, you know, we can show that we can still be friends, but like unbelievably competitive, and we don't need to bring that competitiveness on court, off court. Like we're still gonna, regardless of what happens, like, you know, I've beaten her, she's beaten me, and like still we're gonna be the next day like cheering each other on, pushing in each other's corner, like texting, like, do you need anything? Like, do you got any coaching tips? Like, oh, if you're gonna be there, like, can you coach me in between games? Like, all of that. And I think that's really refreshing for girls to see, because there is such a kind of stigma where it's like either we're like too friendly and like we're going to have to be nice on court and everything, and can't kind of be that competitive and fun. And then have, oh my God, did I lose? Okay. My headphones are kind of cutting.
No, you're good.
Oh, we're good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But, and then it's having also, and showing them that like, yeah, you can be competitive and still be friends. Like, it's okay to be both. So we try and promote that, and we're very lucky, like, that we've kind of hit that sweet spot of being super competitive and really friendly. So it's been awesome, and it's been so much fun, like, seeing her rise up the rankings as well too.
Amanda, what are your thoughts on the big chatters of what's been going on in the squash world this past season on the women's tour? I was just speaking with Lisa a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how feisty the tour is getting as of late. Are you all for this, or what is your feeling?
Oh my God,
with the tour?
I am all for it. If there's anything, like, I think squash needs way more controversy, and it needs way more entertainment. Like, you know, people are trying to make squash like perfect, where like players are kept in this little like box where they only say the, like, you know, the recording of, oh yeah, we're such great friends on tour, like she played so well, everything. It's like, no, you guys aren't such great friends on tour. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to try and be perfect all the time. Just say, hey, you know, I play better, or she blocks, whatever. But like, everybody's like, oh, squash doesn't get the publicity, but like, you need actually like entertainment value. You need people to gravitate towards the players and everything. And if there's no like personalities out there, then then it's just like not that enjoyable. And like, don't get me wrong, the squash is amazing. It's an all-time high for the women especially. But if you're not like a squash fan, and you don't understand the sport, you tend to usually like gravitate towards players, like player stories, you know. A lot of it, like you want to watch players who are controversial, whether you love it or hate it, but that's going to get people talking. If everything's like, oh, squeaky clean and perfect, then it's boring. It's really bland and vanilla, which does not make any excitement. So, you know, I live for the entertainment value, the controversy, all of that stuff. I want people to be a bit more blunt and honest. And we all know, like, it's just for entertainment value. Like, you don't have to take it all so personally. Like, it's for show. And like, I think us players, like, we are entertainers. We're trying to entertain the crowd. We're trying to entertain like people who are watching the sport, and you want to get more eyeballs. If it's boring, people aren't going to watch.
I agree. And this past season has been wildly entertaining. I've been milking as much out of this as possible on these podcasts, on the controversies that's been happening. And completely agree with you. I think there's you guys are putting on a show with your squash and also showcasing stories. And as a casual fan, there's nothing more entertaining when there's a buildup of controversy before matches.
Yes.
And there's more on the line.
100%.
You know? So yeah, big fan of it. And Amanda, earlier you alluded to the fact that, you know, you got a couple more years left, but would you say you're currently in your prime years of squash right now?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm currently in my prime. I would say probably start of last year, like 2021, and this year a bit in my prime. So so I'm just trying to like ride this wave. I've been hitting some, I've been kind of getting a bit successful, thankfully, or I just feel like, you know, all my years and years and years of hard work throughout my career and like early on it's finally kind of paying off, starting last year with just like reaching my highest world ranking, highest kind of tournament win to date, and then, you know, getting a lot of like publicity in big kind of magazine features. So it's nice, and it makes me want to continue to keep working harder. But, you know, I'm trying to ride this wave, and I want to ride this wave as long as I can.
How hungry and fired up are you to break into that top 3 mold?
Yeah, I hit the top 3 for like a few months in the fall of 2021, which was awesome. But, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna like, I know those top 3 now are a notch ahead. And so I want to really establish myself up there. And I think that's kind of what I'm shooting for, is closing the gap on the top 3 currently, and trying to establish myself up there and show people that, like, hey, you know, I truly belong in the top 3 as well. And I'm going to make it known, and I'm going to stay there.
Yeah, man, I know this match was, you lost this match, but I think your match against Gohar in the PSA World Championships.
Yeah.
And that was close. I thought if you took that 4th game. I know. Yeah, I don't know if you think that was the best match of your season. Wait, let me ask you, which match are you most proud of this past season?
So I would definitely say that. I would say that match for sure is probably overall, like throughout the season, that's probably my best match. A lot of people have told me like that's the best squash that they've seen me play to date. So that was kind of reassuring to hear. I did make like massive changes to my swing and everything in April when I came down to Florida. We basically like re-engineered my entire swing and game in the span of 2 weeks, and then I went off and played TOC Worlds and all of that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and so it was like, so I was going like squash twice a day, morning and evening, and fitness in between, and we started from scratch, like learning how to hit forehand drives from mid-court, from the back of the court, like how to hit like straight drives, cross courts, everything, and just fixed my entire swing and all of that. And then it was like, okay, you've graduated, like, here you go. Now go play in like the 2 biggest tournaments of the season for you. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, okay, you know what? Like, we're going for it. I was like, hey, I've been doing the same thing for years and years and years on end. You know, I'm kind of getting a little bit stale. I felt very stale in like March, playing with my game. I just wasn't enjoying it. And I knew I needed a change. I knew I needed to do things differently if I wanted to really make that jump up into the top 3, and also to actually like have fun the next few years playing, and not feel like it's such a burden or like such a job and slog to do. So we did that. I was like, you know what, Weil, I trust you. I'd rather go all in and do something different and like give it a shot. And, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then like, hey, we tried. I can always go back to my old game. And so we did. And it was like really uncomfortable and really scary to just have to like let go of control. But I trust Weil. And, you know, the best part, he was like, you know, if you mess up and you fail, it's on me. You know, you can just blame it on me. And I was like, great. Thank you. I was like, I feel so much better. Like, that's really nice to hear. Takes a massive amount of pressure off of me. But yeah,
that's scary. That is scary. 2 weeks got you there.
2 weeks. I
mean, with this entire off season.
Yeah.
Scary things ahead.
Yeah. So I'm really pumped now to like actually have 7 weeks to work on things and slowly implement them, and not go straight into like competing major events. But I would say like the 2 biggest kind of like the Gohar match was awesome just in terms of like seeing the squash I'm able to produce. But I think too, like winning the NetSuite, the Oracle NetSuite Open, that was kind of a awesome like moment for me, just because I had like I was in such a bad state of mind leading up to that tournament. And I honestly was like so depressed. I was crying like all the time. I was basically I was so like burnt out from the COVID restrictions and like playing 4 months straight in a row. And so I was basically at a point where I was like, I just want to get COVID or get injured, so I have an excuse to like not have to play. So that was my mindset, like going into the tournament. And then all of a sudden I like just played
and she goes ahead
and I won it. And people were like, oh my God, amazing. So I just was laughing hysterically. Like me and Charlie Johnson, who's the coach out there in San Francisco, like he was holding me together.
Yeah.
He was checking in. He's like, how are you doing?
Amazing.
He's like, how are you doing? I was like, I'm okay. And then like 2 hours later, I'm not okay. So those are kind of the 2 like biggest moments for me season wise.
Yeah. Well, I know it's great, and I'm excited for the next season. Amanda, well, I don't want to dig too deep on the Amanda origin story, because I feel like you've done a million interviews on it. What I did want to go into is why you decided to take the college route back during that time of your life period. I want to do this because I want to paint the picture to the audience, because you're coming off of winning the World Junior Championships.
Yes.
So you're crowned as the best junior player. And now the dumb, obvious question everyone's going to be asking is, why wouldn't you go straight professional?
Yeah.
And why pursue education as well? So yeah.
For me, it was always in my family, education comes first. You know, it was never put all your eggs in one basket of just being a squash pro. And, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. You can get injured, burnt out, like all of a sudden, like you just can't play anymore. And then all you have is you being a squash player. You have nothing else to fall back on. And for my family, it's always been education comes first. You can still like play squash there, improve. You're going to graduate at 22. You still got a long time of your career left. So there was never a no-brainer. There was maybe like periods where, you know, when I first did get to college and I had to adjust to the like massive drop in training load, because, you know, I'm coming off of like training a ton. And then all of a sudden I have to like get used to training like 2 hours in the afternoon, like team training, you know, adapt to the training schedule that works for the team. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot less than what I'm used to. And then there was a period like throughout there, it kind of ebbed and flowed. And there were periods where I was like, I just want to like stop, take a year off and train. And my mom was like, absolutely not, because we all know that if you take a year off, you're not coming back to college. And so I'm so glad that I did the college route. And for me, it gave me motivation, because that was still at the time where it was like choose one or choose the other, go pro or go to college. And
it wasn't normalized. Yeah. It wasn't normalized
so it was
to go.
Kind of, And you had like a few people before, Julian, Gilly, but it wasn't normalized. So like, I feel like me and Ollie, we were kind of like one of the like top two that like paved the way to showcase, hey guys, like this is doable. Like you can go to an unbelievable university and then go play pro after and be successful at it. You don't have to give up one or the other. You don't have to choose. And so for me, like that was something, because there were a lot of doubters, people saying that, oh, if you go to college, your squash is going to drop. And me being very stubborn, I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to be like, hey guys, like, no, you can do both. And it was hard. Let me tell you, like, it's not easy. People are like, I don't know how you did it. Like you made it. Like you did all this. And I was like, I literally felt like I was hanging on by a thread for 4 years. And I was just trying to like paddle to stay afloat and not drown. But I did it. And, you know, I showed people that like, if you want to get something done, which like I wanted to come out like with a better pro ranking, having improved, like establish myself on the pro tour, win, like play college squash, graduate in 4 years, like get that nice diploma that says I went to Harvard. And then go play pro squash after. And it was really challenging, not easy, but I did it. And look at the like amount of players that have like followed suit afterwards and how successful they are doing. And the best part is like they have all had their own journey as well, and their own experience in college squash and like university life and everything. We didn't all like do the same thing or like go have the same experience in college and then go on the pro tour. But, you know, there's so many of us now that have played in college, played college squash, like gone to university and now on the pro tour and are doing really successfully.
You just mentioned how a competitive person you are. As a competitive person myself, I think what would have killed me if I was in your shoes is just to see your peers move up the rankings that you played in the juniors, to see how quickly they're progressing into the rankings. I think that would have killed me.
Yeah.
To see that. And while you're, you know, how do you manage that?
It was honestly tough. It was tough because I came from like the generation of Noor Tayeb, Sherbini, like all of them. And like my father's Egyptian. He loves to compare. And so he would see them doing really well. And then he'd be like all like go crazy on me on like how I need to improve my squash and I'm not doing this. I'm not fit enough. And I'm like, oh my God. So like that, it does kind of suck, like the whole comparing, but at the end of the day, like I had to really focus on like my journey, and what I was doing. And, you know, I was in a different boat. I was at Harvard. Like it's a really tough academically, like rigorous school. I'm trying to play professional. I'm trying to like live up to everybody's expectations of college squash and me making sure that like I stay undefeated and I don't like lose a game. I win individual nationals.
That's also crazy. That is crazy. Wait, but we just got to put it on the record just to remind people that you didn't lose a single match throughout your 4 years in college.
Yep.
That is not spoken about. And
62 and 0.
I'm pretty sure I'm certain that Farag wasn't able to achieve that. So why isn't this talked about more? But I want to kind of play the devil's advocate here about I know there was a huge Twitter blow up between college squash and PSA.
Yes.
And I know you pitched in your 2 cents on it, which was fantastic. But what I always struggle to grasp is I feel that the more CSA grows, it's not really helping the PSA because it's giving more opportunities for people to pursue different things. And obviously you should pursue whatever you want, but just selfishly looking at the PSA, I feel like there are certain players with immense talent who don't end up in the PSA because of the CSA route. Does that make sense what I'm trying to get at here?
No, I 100% can see that. And, there are a lot of like really good players and juniors that end up going to university and then they kind of like fizzle out or like, they end up going into finance or a different job and squash kind of takes a back seat. So I don't know. It's like, you can't really assess, like, you never know if they went pro, like, would they get burnt out and like, then do it for a few years and not want to give it a go. I mean, being a pro is hard. Like the lifestyle is hard. And like when you're starting off, you're not making any money, you're grinding, you sleep on a lot of like friends' couches. It's just like, it's a grind. And then some people that they might realize like, do I really want to do this? And maybe they would play pro for a few years and think, hey, do I want to do this? Whereas going to a university, they get a lot of more doors that are open for them and more opportunities that they'd want to take. So I don't know. I think like the college squash is an amazing like minor leagues for the PSA and a great stepping stone. Yeah. But at the same time too, I can totally see how it can hurt the just diversity, I think, of players on the PSA World Tour. Just because like you probably are losing some players who end up going to college and then end up just falling out of the sport at a very high level. Well,
I guess that's for PSA to figure out. Just pitching in but I'm just going to transition into a fun, quick section here, Amanda. And I've been doing this with a lot of my guests, and I've got some feedback that they're getting bored out of their minds with the questions I've been asking. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit here. So I'm going to do this thing where we start this off where we create the perfect player, Amanda. You can only use active players on tour right now. So best forehand in the game. And you can say yourself for any of these questions.
Okay. Gosh, trying to think. Well, can I say best backhand of the game? Because that one I kind of know already. I
was going to ask that right off anyway.
Best backhand of the game, backhand. I would say Sherbini.
Yeah, kind of knew that was coming.
I feel like everyone's going to say Sherbini. And gosh, do I do only girls or can I choose guys as well?
You can do a mix.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I've like looked at enough players' swings. Yeah, I think. How
about we can put that on the back seat? Okay. About best movement.
Best movement. I think Hanya's movement's incredible. Yeah, but
best mental game.
Best mental game. Paul or Ollie, I would say one of them. Yeah, Ollie. Yeah, I would. Yeah, one of those two. Yeah.
And then going back to the forehand.
Back to the forehand.
No, we can do.
Okay. Oh, back to the forehand. Yusuf Ibrahim for sure. I wanted to do a lefty forehand because I think lefty forehands are amazing. Yeah, but Yusuf Ibrahim's
they're incredible. Yeah. Well, there you have it, everyone. We just built Amanda's perfect player.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna move on now. Amanda, who's your favorite ref on tour?
All and none of them. I don't know. I like to be friendly with the refs because they have a lot of power, and also like they have a selfless job. Like, let's put it on the record there. Like, they do not get paid enough. It is really hard to ref. I thank them for what they're doing. But at the same time, too, you know, I feel like we need to develop like younger refs because some of these refs are they might not, they've never played on the pro like level, so they don't know. They think like, oh, this ball is not gettable, but like, who's you to say? Maybe it's not gettable for you in like the men's B division, but like, but yeah. So and then some, so I try and be nice, but you know, I do love to like banter and give a little jab, but then you just smile at the end, and it's okay.
Yeah. Who would you say is best dressed on tour?
Best dressed? For girls, I would say Anya, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I would say Paul. I think what he's doing with his own clothing line, Iwi, is awesome.
Is he sponsoring other players as well?
I do not know. But I know their kit at the Commonwealth game was his clothing line. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Would you be okay getting sponsored by them?
If they have like great women's gear that I feel comfortable wearing, for sure. Like I would totally rep. I'm like a big supporter of like small business owners, people that want to like build their brand, all of that stuff.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And worst dressed player on tour. I mean, this is just a point of you know, for them to improve.
100%. I think it's kind of well known. Like. Love them to death, and you know their squash like completely overpowers their wardrobe choices. But definitely like Ollie and Noor could definitely improve a little bit on the on-court attire. I mean, they love a good collared shirt.
Yeah, and they're really throwing the retro look back.
Yeah.
From what I'm gathering, hopefully you know they tune in. Next season, big time change up coming up. But Amanda, who would you like to see in the commentator's booth that we haven't seen before?
This is not a player, but like my dream, I would love Snoop Dogg to commentate on squash. Like,
just take a couple hits of the weed and then come in hot.
Have you ever listened to Snoop Dogg commentate on sports before? It is incredible. Oh my God. You need to.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't checked it out.
Honestly, if you haven't had a chance, like go like watch Snoop Dogg like commentating on hockey. He did something, but like it is hilarious and he's amazing at it. It's so funny. And I think he would just love squash. He would love like watching squash and like his comments would be amazing.
All right. I got to check it out after. Oh, that's good. Amanda, if you were to be competing in the softball doubles world championships, who would you want as your partner?
Yeah. So,
both male and female.
Okay. So for females, I mean, I've played softball doubles in the Pan American Games. So I played with my sister, and we do really well together. So I would either say for girls, either her or Olivia Fichter, just with like chemistry and like we know each other's games, like we'll have a good dynamic, everything. For guys, I'd want to play with Mohammed Sherbagi. Like I feel like he'd just be like really solid, and you know he would just be an awesome teammate to have to, be in that mindset with.
Yeah, gotcha. Mm-hmm. No, I think his name has not been actually mentioned a lot for the doubles partner.
Yeah,
but I think he'd be a solid one. Best and worst organized tournament of the calendar.
So best organized, I would say, would be like these 50Ks that we've been having for years. So the Cleveland Classic, Cincinnati, those two, unbelievable in terms of player care. Like, you know, it's not flashy. It's in like a country club, but just like player care, the standard is top notch. We get like full access to the club in terms of meals. We're staying at billets. So like families' homes, they are so sweet. Really nice people. You know, they have dinners for us. They make us feel appreciated and welcomed. And I think that kind of, you know, that goes a long way. Even though, you know, they don't have a glass court and it's not all flashy looking and everything, but the player care, and like, there's a reason why we all come back and play those tournaments year after years, because it's phenomenally run, and they take such good care of us.
And then which tournament needs work? What do you say?
Which tournament needs work? Some of the Egyptian
Who
ones,
is not giving the care?
and there's I would say, I don't want to like put names out, but like, you know, tournaments where we're shuffling around playing at different clubs is just not great. Yeah, tournaments where there's just some of the Egyptian tournaments are not run that like organized.
That's verbatim what Nikki said last week on pod. So we just got two overlapping answers.
But other than that, I'm glad it's not just me. But yeah, sometimes it's
he said something on the lines that he said something on the lines of like time is irrelevant over there.
Yeah, they beat to their own drum. Yeah, they get stuff done like very last minute. It's just kind of like all put together last minute, and it's like, you've had so much time to do this. Like, why are you waiting to like the last second?
Well, I think it's great that you're providing insight on this, because as a Specter, you only see what's broadcast, so you really don't know what's actually getting run well or not. So, Amanda, what are you thinking of coaching post career? Is that something in your mind?
I don't know. You know, like I've coached. I was the assistant MIT men's coach for 3 years. And I love that. I loved working with the guys, coaching them. I don't know if I necessarily want to go the college coaching route, just because there's so much like admin stuff, reporting to higher ups, like all of that. I like having my own kind of flexibility and freedom. And so I thought maybe coaching like the high performance side of things. But I am like very interested in, I do love the community aspect of squash, and just getting more people engaged in the sport and helping like more startup programs and startup clubs. So I went to North Carolina beginning of April to do a clinic and exhibition at Duke University and their club team. They want to, improve their squash. They're really enthusiastic, but they just don't have the resources, the funds, the kind of direction and knowledge of that. So I had an absolute blast. Like, I loved it, and it was so awesome to like coach the team for a training session that day, hit with the community members, and then play an exhibition, like a 2v1 exhibition versus their top 2 players. And like it generated a lot of buzz around it. And it filled my energy cup, because just to be able to see like all those people happy and like have such a great day makes me unbelievably happy in return. And so I would love to do that for clubs that are starting up, that want to promote squash in the area and help generate like more buzz, get more people involved, like hit with community members, all of that. So I love that whole social aspect of it, and like growing the game that way. So I kind of leaning more towards that, and also like the whole mental health and sports aspect, and trying to like push that a little bit more, because I think that's now coming to the forefront this past year, especially with COVID. And, it's being highlighted that there are a lot of athletes that struggle with mental health, and we're not talking about it nearly enough. And so to be able to almost get a little bit more educational training, especially like on the eating disorder side of things and athletes, and to be able to help navigate that space with a lot of like juniors, college players, professional players even. So, yeah,
it's really not talked about enough. And it was great that you took the courage to take the first step of opening up that line of communication, allowing others to, I think a lot of people related with, a lot of squash players, so we don't talk about it.
Yeah. And it was really eye opening. I think like the biggest thing that I got out of it was just how many people do struggle with it, or know someone who struggled with it, or has struggled in the past with it, and has like, and we are not talking about it, and it's just like no one.
Yeah.
So that I was kind of like, whoa, oh my goodness. Like there are a lot of us out there who are kind of in the same boat, regardless of like the scale that you've struggled with it. Like we all struggle in some sort of way. And we are not talking enough about it. Like we are not getting the education. We are not normalizing it. Like there's still so much like taboo around it, like shame and guilt and, like negativity around it all and trying to like feel isolated and feel like you're alone in the situation where like we're really not. Like there's so many of us that are in the same boat. And I think the more we talk about it, the easier it's going to be for people to feel comfortable sharing about it and seeking help, but also just normalizing, making it seem like, it does not have that much power over you that you think it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amanda, who do you think is the most underrated player on tour?
Most underrated player on tour. I would say for girls, I think Lisa's very underrated. I think she should be higher ranked. I think she's just had some really unfortunate luck. I do think like, even though she is my sister is underrated. I think she hasn't quite made that jump up in the rankings that we all know she's capable of. And she's an unbelievably talented player. Like she's so fast. She's really good. And she's kind of been hovering around the 20s for a bit now. And so she's gotten really close, but she hasn't quite made that jump into the kind of top 15 yet to solidify herself up there. And I think once she does, she'll be dangerous. But it's definitely, hopefully it's coming.
Just holding off the little sister for a couple more years.
I know, seriously. Hopefully I'll be retired by then.
How about most overrated player on tour right now?
Has anyone actually said a name for this?
Yeah, there are a couple people.
Wow. Good on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to.
I think they were confident. Yeah. I think they were confident that no one was going to listen to it. So
that's funny.
Wait, so I mean, it's totally fine if you don't want to answer the question, because I'm going to switch the question then to who do you find most uncomfortable to play against with your playing style?
But I'll say like for the overrated players, I'm not going to.
She's going to answer.
Saying names, but some of the like younger Egyptians, not the top three, because they've definitely established themselves, but some of the younger Egyptians, and there's a whole group of them. So, I don't know, we're not pinpointing names here, but I think a lot of them have gotten a lot of their wins just by kind of being a bit dirty playing wise and like being a bit of a bully. So, they're not the nicest people to play, and and so they get their wins by kind of not playing great, like clean squash. Which just,
So now I'm sure that if you're a big squash fan, you can probably identify in your head
use your imagination.
Who Amanda's talking about.
You can use your imagination. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not pinpointing players.
She didn't say any names. Yeah. She didn't say any names, but I'm going to transition into just a couple life-related questions just to get you to know you better. Amanda, I've noticed you have some tattoos.
Oh, yes.
Could you give us a little story behind what these tattoos mean to you?
Yeah, so my first one it says, "With pain comes strength." It's on my right forearm. I got that right after college. That's kind of, went through some stuff in college. We all do. Struggle with some mental health stuff. And when I graduated, I wanted just to and I came out of it, and I feel I've gotten stronger from it. I think every tough period, if you're able to overcome it, it makes you a lot stronger and a lot more resilient. So I kind of wrote it out in my own handwriting and had to have a little arrow underneath it. And so that was my first tattoo. And it's my reminder that, with every hard thing that you go through in life, like if you can get through it. You're going to come out stronger on the other end. So that's my first one. My second one I got is a kind of an ode to music, my love for music on my left wrist, and it's a music note with headphones over it, and then the headphone cord has a little heartbeat, and it then says life written in it. So I grew up with a huge musical background. I played a bunch of instruments. I sang, choirs, all of that stuff, played in the band.
Did not know you sang back in the day.
Oh yeah. So I didn't know that. I played the French horn from 4th to 12th grade. I can still pick up a French horn and sight read music. I could pick up a lot of instruments and pretty much learn music. I played piano growing up. I can pretty much sit down, sight read piano, if I need to. I sang in 3 different choirs, growing up. And I sang in a community choir in college. I sang in a couple sporting events, the national anthem with another squash player, Hope Prokop. So we sang the national anthem at the Bruins game. Yeah, TOC a couple times. Red Sox. So yeah. So that's been kind of fun. And then also I'm always listening to music, and I find that music sometimes music understands you better than sometimes words or speaking to people or whatever. So, whatever emotion you're feeling, memories that you want to connect with, music always is there for you. So that's my second. And my last one is on my right ankle, and it's a free bird. So it's free is written in cursive, and then there's a bird at the end of it. And that's kind of when I was I got that August of 2020, so 2 years ago. And that was kind of when I knew I was going to break free from my eating disorder. And that was kind of the freeing of the ankle shackle, kind of metaphorically, the eating disorder ankle shackle weight that I've been carrying around for 10 years of my life. So yeah, that's my reminder of, I'm on the other side of it, and there's no looking back. I ain't going back.
Yeah. Next question is best and worst purchase you've ever made.
Best purchase is my house that I bought in Philly in December of last year, 2021.
It would be worse if you said that was the worst purchase.
Definitely the best purchase I have made, for sure. And I got that when housing market was still really nice and mortgage rates were great. So very lucked out.
Unlike now.
Yes, lucked out on that. Worst purchase is probably some clothing attire. I'm not known for my wardrobe choices, and I've definitely bought some questionable items that I've never even worn my entire life that at the point seemed like a good idea, and then I was like, what were you thinking?
Wait, there's actually just this one question that dawned on me right now on the spot. Amanda, you're no stranger to using social media as a platform to grow your brand, right? Which player do you think has potential in the social media game that hasn't been utilizing on the tour?
God, that's a lot of players do not utilize their social media.
There are some terrible social media usage.
Most of them, majority of them. I get a lot of slack for being on social media, posting on Instagram all the time, everything. But it's an amazing way to grow your brand, connect with the community. I'm a personable person. I do like to engage with the community and the fans and everything, and it goes a long way. And And I try and use my platform to talk about important issues for me, things that I believe in, be able to use it as a positive tool to help people. I know that I generate a lot of followers, but I think that other players can utilize it in a much better way, not only to showcase the sport, but also to showcase who they are as people. And you're going to get a lot more people gravitating towards that. I remember when Ollie spoke about the politics happening, I think, in Syria after a tournament win. And that was amazing. Just to do something different that's not the same like blanket statement of like, oh, it was a really great match. You know, I always have to bring my A game for my opponent, and they played so well, and I'm just so glad that I came out on top. Yeah,
game's always scripted.
Always scripted.
Same stuff.
So
same stuff every time. Yeah,
I feel like people would appreciate a lot more to kind of see who these players are a little bit more, the personalities. And I'm not saying like air out all your dirty laundry on social media, but definitely it would help the sport, I think, grow. I think it would help grow the sport and get more eyeballs if certain players like had a bit more personality to showcase.
Yeah, shout out to Team England out there, really jumping on it as of recently. It's as a fan, it's funny. It's fun to interact, see it. Yeah.
But Olivia Fictor and I have noticed that we very much appreciate Team England's Instagram.
Team USA needs to step it up right now.
No, I know. Trust me, I know. That's a sensitive topic. Do not even go there. Hopefully in the works. Honestly, we're trying to make a big push for that because it's really subpar.
Would love to see it. But Amanda, what are your biggest pet peeves?
Okay. I have a few. One is spelling my last name wrong.
Okay.
Like if you ever want to make me angry, just spell my last name wrong and like 100% I'm annoyed.
Do they mix up the H and
yes,
B?
It's S-O.
Is that the most common?
Sobhy. Everyone, because it's pronounced Sobhy in English, like in Arabic it's Sobhy. In Arabic it's Sobhy. So it's like so you have the HY at the end. Whereas in English it's Sobhy, so everyone thinks it's S-O-H-B-Y. And the worst part is, like, I've had it in, like, publications where it will be, like, spelled correctly, then spelled incorrectly, then spelled correctly. Like, in the same publication, I was like, oh, my goodness, like, is it that hard to spell check? So that one, and then the other one that is just so petty, but I cannot stand, is misuse of, like, basic grammar. You're and you are. I correct everybody. I am that. I am no shame. I am that asshole that is like your, like asterisk, like Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, not your.
Yeah.
And yeah, my best friends, like they're on the same boat as me. We can't stand it at all. And so that one is a big one there, and there, like, guys, it's basic grammar. It's not hard. I know, like, I know you want to just shorten a letter or two, but let's just use it properly.
Never take that shortcut.
Yeah. I do have to give Paul Cole some shit, like, squash, but he definitely needs to improve. Nayla and I give him a lot of shit for his subpar grammar skills. He's getting better though. He's getting better, and he spends a lot of time like looking over things before. And he knows if he puts something. He knows if he puts something out incorrectly. Nayla and I are on him like that.
I think I've noticed a couple posts. He's butchered the grammar there.
Thankfully, his squash is amazing.
Maybe the Robbo and Camp need to open up a grammar school out there as well. But there are a bunch of Instagram questions, but there's only one that I'm going to pick that I thought was really good. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Why did she switch from Hero to Head when she had her own racket line?
Yeah. I think everything ebbs and flows in career, and I felt like I maxed out my time with Hero. They were really good for me, good to me, like when I was starting off with my career and the racket line and everything. But I wanted to be with a bigger brand, and I was kind of shopping around different rackets, and I really liked Head. I think, Head is kind of your like loyal friend that's always going to be there for you, a constant, nothing like too flashy or out there, but it's like, it is your constant, dependable, like reliable friend that you can always count on. And I do have to say this, like I've never broken a head racket. I have whiffed, I have soloed, and I have broken so many Hero rackets. Yeah. And so
wow, that's crazy. You haven't broken a...
Yeah. I've actually once, like in the US Open, I think in 2016, I whiffed a ball playing in the quarterfinals against Gohar, and my Hero racket snapped at the neck. And I was holding the grip, and the rest of the racket flew in the court, and I was like mortified. And I was like, this is not what I want my own personal racket to be associated with. Like, this is embarrassing. So it kind of felt like, you know, would I love to have my own personal racket with head? Yes. But, you know, would I much rather have a reliable racket that isn't going to break and that works and like feels really good? Yes. So I will choose that. And yeah, they're great. Yeah. It's a massive company and I love it. And they give me a lot of freedom with like what I can wear in outfits. I'm not tied down to them for clothing and
that's, yeah.
So that was a big one.
That's another element. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one as well. And I like the other players who are a part of the brand. I think, you know, Laura is doing a really good job, like recruiting a lot of the head players.
No, head has actually, I feel like they've always been on the backseat. They've really been back on the map within the past like 3-4 years. Yeah. I mean, with obviously big sponsorships with you, Paul Cole, and others. So it's good to see them back on the map when they weren't really the mainstream a couple years back. Yeah. But Amanda, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun. Yeah.